Thank you very much. Welcome to the Board of County Commissioners. Issues and Administrator Report on this April 20, 2021. Gary, you're up.
Thank you, Chair Smith. All commissioners are present. Commissioner Savas is online. The other commissioners are in the room. With the chair's approval, we're going to start with the consent agenda today, because many of the directors are in the room, and so you don't have to wait. We'll start with you. Out of courtesy, I'm going to start with the elected officials. So Judge Karen Brisbane, would you please come forward? Clackamas County Justice Court. The request to add to your consent agenda is a resolution appointing justices of the peace pro tempore, can't say that, for the Clackamas County Justice of the Peace District. Pro tempore judges are paid at an hourly rate of $45.35 plus 56 cents per mile for travel and to and from the court building. This is included in the Justice Court budget. Any other quick update on this for the board, Judge?
No. County Chair, Commissioners, and County Administrator, thank you for allowing me to be present today. Oregon law requires you to approve the roster of pro tem judges for the upcoming year. This is done on an annual basis. And these are the regular pro tems that are sitting for me if I'm on vacation or out for an appointment. It doesn't happen too often, but it has to be done annually by you.
Any other comments for Judge Brisbane on this?
Can I actually just point out something? Excuse me, Judge. The staff report has $45.35 per hour, and it looks like it should have been updated to $48.55.
That's true.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out if we could.
Okay, yeah, get that on the record, $48.55 per hour for pro tem judges and 56 cents per mile per diem.
It might be 58% or 58 cents, excuse me.
58 cents a mile?
I think it's gone up to 58.
I don't know.
Is the staff report correct in the packet?
No, the staff report was incorrect. I received an email from Laura updating the hourly amount, but not the.
We will update it before it goes to the consent agenda, but in
Okay, that
general,
will
do
be
you
fine.
approve this
Go
going
ahead and
to
do
the
that.
consent?
Are there any questions for Judge Brisbane from commissioners?
Okay, we'll
Gary,
add-
what is the action we take on this?
So you're just giving approval to put it on the consent agenda?
Any objections, commissioners, to put on consent agenda? Seeing none, it will be put on the consent agenda for when?
Now, normally we do it for the following week, so it'd be next Thursday. Is that okay, Judge Brisbane?
Yes.
Okay, yep, for whatever, April 29th, I think is the date. Okay.
Thank
I
you,
just
Judge
wanna
Brisbane.
bring to attention-
Appreciate you coming to visit today.
Thank you.
Oh, Chair Smith, I want to bring to everyone's attention that there's this one name on here that I think we'll all recognize, which is Stephen Madcore, is written in this resolution. So just want to let you know that we all
Because he
approved
served
that-
as a- because
that
he served
could
as a pro
serve
tem.
as a pro tem in Justice Court.
I've been volunteering my time for that as well.
Thank you. I figured you were. I think, yeah, that's fine. Well, Judge, it's good seeing your face.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Brisbane. Next, I'm moving around on this agenda. Next, our Assessor Tammy Little, if you'd please come forward. This is under the Finance Department on your list. A resolution approving the submission of the assessor's CAFA grant application for fiscal year 2021-2022. The grant provides approximately 15% of the revenue for the assessor's office. Tammy, go ahead, please.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners, County Administrator. Thank you for your time today to approve this resolution for submitting our CAFA grant document to the state. CAFA stands for County Assessment Function Funding Assistance. The annual grant program helps Oregon counties cover assessment taxation costs to remain in compliance with Oregon revised statutes requiring equity and uniformity in the Oregon property tax system. This program was created in 1989 to reverse a disintegration taking place in the property tax system and to recognize the shared responsibility statewide for uniformity and accuracy in property assessment and taxation. Funding for this grant comes from portions of recording document fees and a percentage of interest collected on delinquent property taxes. These funds are forwarded to the Oregon Department of Revenue, which then redistributes the funds to counties statewide. Each county must submit an application annually with an estimate of staffing, workload, and expenditures to support their assessment and taxation program. The Department of Revenue certifies each county to participate in the grant if its budget maintains system adequacy as provided by statute. As Gary said, this grant will provide approximately 15% of the revenue for the assessor's office. And we respectfully recommend the board approve this resolution so we may submit this grant document to the state. So-
Thank you, Assessor Little. Do any of the commissioners have questions for our fellow elected official on this grant revenue application request? Any objections? Seeing none, it will go forward on the agenda.
Next Thursday, April 29th, is that okay, Tammy?
Yes, we need it, there's a May 1 deadline.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice seeing you today.
Nice to see all of you, thank you.
And we'll just
Bye-bye.
we'll wrap up the rest of the consent agenda. Nancy, you're next. Disaster management. First, approval of a sub-recipient agreement amendment between the City of Portland and Clackamas County for purchase and reimbursement activities related to the use of fiscal year 18 United States Department of Homeland Security's Urban Area Security Initiative Grant Program. The amendment will have a $66,100 increase, bringing the total to $443,381 with funding from the fiscal year 18 Department of Homeland Security grant. No general fund dollars are involved. Nancy, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you. There's not a lot to cover after that, so that was a lot. Just to kind of remind the board, too, that this is actually our USC 18 funding, which was originally approved on May 15, 2019, and this is just an amendment to that document that was approved in 2019.
Good. Any questions? Any objections? Seeing none, I believe that will move forward. Up next.
Great. Next, approval to apply for a FEMA Hazard Mitigation Program grant funds to upgrade the existing Upper Sandy River flood warning system. Total amount is $85,000. 25% local match is $21,250. Monthly service fees, $630. There are general funds involved, which will be 25% of the match. Go ahead, please, Nancy.
Yeah, so this particular grant, it's a mitigation grant that we are eligible for, and we're trying to make sure that we have some gauges up on the Sandy River and in that area. As you know, that's a very prone flood area. This serves about 500 homes in that area, as well as we'll give NOAA some data to take a look and see, it's like, you know, what kind of rainfall upper mountain causes flooding, lower, you know, down the mountain. This is a very steep area. We've had a lot of issues there. And so we would like to take this opportunity to put some gauges there. We've had some gauges there before. They're dysfunctional. And a couple we're taking offline because it was just too expensive to get them hooked up.
Okay, good. Any questions or objections on this particular grant funding request? Seeing none. It's a go.
Okay, great, thank you. And then finally, for disaster management, approval of a fiscal year 2020 Emergency Management Performance Grant Supplemental between Clackamas County and the State of Oregon. The grant agreement value is $43,066, and the grant is a 50% federal share grant that will reimburse Clackamas County Disaster Management for up to 50% of salaries and benefits for an employee who will focus on the COVID-19 response. This will include general fund dollars. Go ahead, Nancy.
Yes, so this is an EMPG grant, which is supplemental to COVID. We have put in for this, and this is also retroactive. We have an employee that we have, has been working 100% on COVID that this will be used for, and we do have the 25% match in our budget at this time.
Yeah, and we've met that 25% match already, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you very much. Any other further questions or objections to this? Seeing none, I believe
Okay,
that's
great. Thank you,
approved.
Nancy, very much. Again, I'm going to people in the room first. So next is Health, Housing, and Human Services. Mary Rumbaugh, who is Behavioral Health Director and Interim Deputy Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services right now. The first item is approval of an intergovernmental agreement, Amendment 4, with the State of Oregon, Department of Human Services, Aging and People with Disabilities Division for the provision of services to Clackamas County residents. The agreement is for $8,617,314, funded by the Federal Older American Act funds and state general funds. County general funds are being used for $318,473 to meet the match requirements for the internal programs for the duration of this agreement. Mary, go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners, County Administrator. So yes, as County Administrator Schmidt indicated, this is an increase to an existing agreement. The increased value is actually only $210,000, $210,000. This will continue the work that we do around nutrition programs and evidence-based health promotion activities specific to our Older American Act and our Oregon Project Independent Services for individuals here in this county 60 years of age or older. And as indicated, there is a county general fund that we use to meet the match requirement as well.
Any objections or questions for the presenter? Seeing none, it's a go.
Okay, great. Next, approval of a federal sub-recipient grant agreement with Central City Concern to provide law enforcement diversion program services. The total amount will be $318,032.84, funded through the Federal Domestic Assistance Fund, and the County General Fund is being used for affordable housing. Go ahead, please, Mary.
So this is what we call the LEAD program. So this is case management services which are targeted toward individuals experiencing homelessness and substance use disorders who have engaged in low-level criminal activities. This agreement would be with Central City Concern to provide that case management. This is actually an initial 9-month contract to allow time to determine whether other sources of funding will be secured. This previously has been a combined funding between the Sheriff's Office, the DA, and Health, Housing, and Human Services. So this is the first opportunity for a sub-recipient grant. And as indicated, there would be $104,000 of county general fund through the Affordable Housing PLP to support this.
Christine, I see a red light on, and in the meantime, Mary, can you draw your microphone way close to you?
Yes, absolutely.
You know, when we wear these masks, they tend to muffle our volume.
Tough.
Yeah, go ahead, Christina, who's up?
Commissioner Savas.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I just have a question. I just, to Mary Rumbaugh, is there opportunity for, when more funding comes available to increase our capacity for those services?
I certainly believe that would be our intent, and I'm happy to loop back to Children, Family, and Community Connections, who holds this agreement, to verify that information.
Yeah, I would love to get as much information about that potential as possible,
Great.
trying to get an assessment of our capacity with regard to, providing those services, knowing that we have supportive housing services coming online here pretty soon. So love to chat more about that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Seeing no objections, I believe it's a go.
Okay, great. Next, approval to apply for a sub-recipient grant award with the Oregon Health and Science University for partnership in an institutional review board study. Oregon Health and Science University will potentially pay Clackamas Health Centers up to $219,419 over a period of 4 years. No general funds are involved and no matching funds are required. Go ahead, Mary.
So this is really quite an interesting one. So the National Institute of Health is awarding grants from the Justice Community Opioid Innovation Network, JCOIN, to support research on quality addiction treatment for opioid use disorders in criminal justice settings. So OHSU would actually be part of this network, and they would sponsor health centers as a participant in the study. And so OHSU would have access to the patients of health centers who are currently incarcerated within the corrections department. So we would be part of a research study.
Would the patients involved have to give their permission to be part of the research study, even though they are incarcerated?
That's a great question. I will verify that, Chair Smith. My gut tells me yes, but I will verify that and get that back to you.
I would assume so. We don't want to make anybody do anything against their will, even though they have been incarcerated. I assume, too, also, that that's the case. I would say that's okay to go ahead, providing that is indeed the case. Any other objections? Hearing none, I believe that's a go. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Great. Next, approval of an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the state of Oregon, acting by and through its Oregon Health Authority for operation as the local public health authority for Clackamas County. Contract is increased by $6,093,800 $870, bringing the contract maximum value to $19,499,741. Funding is through the state. No general funds are involved. Go ahead, please, Nancy.
So
Or,
this
Mary,
amendment
sorry.
will increase funding for contracted communicable disease control activities that are performed by our local public health authority, including HIV prevention and COVID-related services.
Any questions or objections on this particular item? Seeing none, that's a go.
Okay, great. Next, approval of a grant agreement with Health Share of Oregon for the Help Me Grow program. Contract maximum value is $80,000 with funding through the Health Share of Oregon. No general funds are involved. Go ahead, Mary.
So the Help Me Grow program through Health Share of Oregon, the goal is to improve child health and developmental outcomes by strengthening links between child health and early learning systems, as well as creating a robust model for screening and referral. So we would be working with connecting children and their families, children ages 0 to 5, who are at risk of developmental delays to services, and we'd connect them to services and supports.
Any objections to this item? Seeing none, I believe that's an approval.
Great. And finally, approval of an amendment with Do Good Multnomah for Veterans Village Services. Contract is not to exceed $210,006. This will include, I believe, all general funds, which was funded by a policy level proposal 3 or 4 years ago by the Board of Commissioners for housing and veteran services. Go ahead, please, Mary.
Thank you. So Do Good Multnomah currently provides peer support staffing to the Veterans Village. This would increase their peer support. And they provide, as you know, the Veterans Village does provide safety and opportunities for intensive service engagement and a supportive community environment for our veterans. To date, the Veterans Village and Do Good Multnomah has served 62 veterans experiencing homelessness in Clackamas County. And during the past fiscal year, 10 program participants have transitioned into permanent housing, with 7 of those participants receiving supportive housing services. So this small $210,000 increase is going to allow Do Good to add additional peer support to this contract.
Did you say this is a $210,000 increase in our general fund and not what was previously allocated? I did not hear that right.
I'm sorry, it was previously allocated through what we called a policy level proposal several years ago. So it's
Several
within the
years
budget
ago.
given to HCS.
And this was part of when the Veterans Village was built. Obviously, there was a need for services. Christina?
Commissioner Fisher has her hand raised.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, so I'm just curious, the duration looks like it's within this fiscal year for these additional dollars, and the amount is not to exceed, but how much did we allocate to this already this year?
I don't have my staff report right in front of me on this one, so I would have to go back and double check that. So, but yes, I see the same thing that you're seeing, that it looks to be an amendment to the original approval.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't have a problem moving forward with this, but I would just like to know ahead of time just a little bit more detail about what's happening that we need the increase. And if it's a not to exceed, I'm pretty that's usually, we probably need less, but we put that amount so that you don't have to keep coming back. But would like to know just a little bit more.
Great.
Commissioner Scholl?
Yes, I would like to see the details of the contract with Do Good Multnomah. What is it exactly the functions they perform for our Veterans Village? And in your opinion, are they doing that to your satisfaction?
We can certainly get you the scope of work that's in the agreement. I think that's critical. It is my understanding that we are very satisfied with Do Good Multnomah, that we would continue to want this partnership for sure, but I'm more than happy to get a little bit more specifics to you.
Thank you. Hearing any other objections? Seeing none, thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll put it on the consent agenda. My suggestion is that we do either an issues update or a quick policy session to review, because we have several new commissioners, the whole Veterans Village, our Do Good contract, a progress update.
Yep.
We used to do monthly check-ins on the Vets Village at issues, and then we sort of dropped that. So maybe it's time to bring that back.
Sounds great.
Mary, could you work with your team, please?
Absolutely.
Mary, bring that back to the agenda setting meeting, because I think we have some topics that need to be heard first.
Yep, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Martha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Next,
Martha?
Oh,
I'm sorry,
sorry.
Mary, could we also get extra copies of that? Because it has come to my attention that, for example, Camp Withicum and General Stencil has no idea what we're doing with the Veterans Village. And they would be very interested, since it's in their own backyard, of making sure that their military family coordinators know about it, that they know about it. They'd like to see the village, and they'd also like to take a look at Clayton Moore Commons. So
Okay.
it'd be nice to build that. I think Commissioner Scholl would agree with me to build that relationship back up with our local military presence. So,
Right.
okay.
Great, that sounds wonderful.
Christina?
Commissioner Fisher has her hand raised.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, so I'm just issue spotting here. Part of the reason for my questions, and that's why I also appreciate Commissioner Scholl's questions and Gary's suggestion that we take a broader look at this, is that come July 1, we'll begin receiving supportive services dollars. And one of the agreements, or part of that measure, is that we not supplant any resources that we are putting towards that. So I'm really wanting to get a sense of this. What is the need? And are we committing with this consent agenda item additional general funds that we didn't budget for back in the last budget cycle? And just to get a better sense.
That sounds great.
We gotta
Okay.
preserve as much as possible, our county general fund dollars.
Sounds like a bigger conversation is warranted. Perfect.
Thank you.
That's my takeaway. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mary. Next, Dan, Transportation and Development. Consent agenda request. First, approval of a local agency agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation for the Knights Bridge Road, Malala River Bridge. Overall project cost estimate, $3,601,086. Funding from state-funded local project in the amount of $3,231,254, and county road fund totaling $369,832. No general fund. Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Smith, Board of County Commissioners, Administrator Schmidt. This is a project agreement between Clackamas County and the Oregon Department of Transportation to rehabilitate the existing bridge at Knights Bridge Road, spanning the Malala River near the city of Canby. The existing bridge was built in 1964, is showing extensive signs of decay as a result of age and heavy traffic. The bridge presently has a sufficiency rating of 38.5 and requires load and weight restrictions to be placed in the bridge. The proposed rehabilitation will include a Phase 1 seismic retrofit of the superstructure, painting of the steel girders, patching and sealing of the deck with a full overlay, repair concrete spalling of the abutments and columns in-water work, and scour repairs at bends 3, 4, and 5. That's pretty informative to everybody. The proposed improvements are expected to remove the load and weight restrictions for the bridge. Essentially, Administrator Schmidt called out all the funding to date. There's no general fund associated with this.
Is that the bridge over 99E?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, no, yeah.
No, it's over
going
Knights Bridge Road is over the Malala River.
entrance, it's at Canby, Arndt Road. Isn't it Arndt? I think it is.
Yes,
Yep.
I believe so.
Yeah, but is this part of 99E? Okay, never mind. Okay,
It's ancillary to.
ancillary, thank you. Commissioner Fisher, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, so I have a question. When it says that there'll be a seismic retrofit, at what level of earthquake will that bridge be able to withstand maintaining its integrity?
I will have to confirm that for you because that depends on the type of bridge and the work that we're doing. Do I think that seismic retrofit, because it is a retrofit, not a new bridge, will not be up to, I don't believe, the 9.0 standards that we have for some of our other bridges around the county. Well, we don't have it for many bridges around the county. It's mainly like Carver Bridge, et cetera. But I can have clarification and get that confirmation to you.
Okay, I mean, my brain always does a cost-benefit analysis as to we're investing this many dollars and what are we getting for it? So,
Thank you. No objections to this? It's a go.
Okay, great. The next item is a request to put on this week's consent agenda. Approval to partner with Malala River Watch in applying for an Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board grant for the replacement of the Woodcock Creek Grimm Road Bridge. Total construction project cost $600,000, which comes from an OWEB grant, which I don't know what that means, Dan. Please tell us. $330,000, road fund match $330,000. No general funds involved. Included in this is a request that the board send a letter of support. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. One quick correction. It's $660,000 total. Essentially, inspection of the existing Grimm Road Bridge over Woodcock Creek has indicated significant scour and undermining of the existing four-sided box bridge. The bridge is located approximately 1,200 feet south of the intersection of Grimm Road and Munson Road in the South Clackamas County area. The existing bridge is approximately 50 years old and 28 feet long and 30 feet wide. and it's a complete barrier to passage of endangered species throughout much of the year. In regards to OWEB, the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board has a restoration grant funding opportunity, and the funding priorities include the removal and remediation of structures such as roads, culverts, and channels to improve water quality and/or fish habitat, of which this project fits appropriately. The OWEB grant requires the application to come from the local watershed council, and Molalla River Watch is that local council. Essentially, the project fits the Molalla River Watch's priorities, and the Molalla River Watch is willing to submit the application in partnership with Clackamas County. Again, just to clarify, this packet that's going forward on consent does include a letter of recommendation from the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you. Commissioner Fisher?
What's scour?
Scour occurs when you have high water volumes that cut into banks or embankments around our bridges, and they undermine the footings of those bridges.
Thank you.
Yep.
Seeing no objections? That's
Wow,
a go.
it's like a quiz.
Commissioners, are you okay that the letter of support is within your consent agenda packet? In the past, you've had concerns with this, because normally we bring letters to issues, but there are also many times letters are in the consent agenda as part of a grant application.
Well, I was just sending support. It's not a political statement, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
I'd be glad to read the letter if you want me to read that. To get
Yeah, go ahead and
confirmation.
read it, Dan. Dan, go ahead and read
I
it.
don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, to read this letter, this is to the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board regarding support of the OWEB Restoration Grant application for Woodcock Creek at Grimm Road Fish Passage Improvements Project submitted by the Molalla River Watch. To whom it may concern, this letter is in strong support of the Molalla River Watch's grant proposal to improve fish passage through an undersized four-sided box culvert on Woodcock Creek at Grimm Road. On behalf of Clackamas County and as a partner with long-term interest in the restoration and protection of our local natural resources, the county lends our support and interest in working with the Molalla River Watch on this project. The project will develop a long-term solution related to fish passage barriers on Woodcock Creek and would provide 11 additional miles of upstream habitat to aquatic species. The existing county-maintained box bridge is undersized for the purpose of water conveyance and has a concrete bottom which is perched approximately 16 inches on the outfall, making it a barrier to most of all aquatic species, including coho, chinook, and winter steelhead. Clackamas County has a long-term invested interest in the restoration and protection of our local natural resources, and we continue our commitment to the enhancement and recovery of endangered species listed countywide, including those within the Molalla River Basin. Therefore, we encourage OWEB and its reviewers to favorably consider the grant for the project proposed for Woodcock Creek at Grimm Road.
That's fine with me, Commissioners. Any objections to the letter? Seeing none, it's a go on both the construction project and the letter of support.
Thank you, and that'll be this Thursday's business meeting. We'll amend the agenda if that's okay.
Okay,
Chair.
that's fine.
Great. And finally, approval of a contract with Cole Hour and Cohen doing business as C+C for strategic marketing consulting services for Phase 2 and 3 of the County Drive to Zero project. Total contract value is $242,000. Drive to Zero funds, which are general funds, is $187,450, plus an Oregon Department of Transportation Safe Community Grant for $54,550. Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you so much. Just to confirm the fact those general funds were authorized and allocated as a part of the fiscal year 2021 budget process. The Department of Transportation Development launched a marketing campaign with funds from the National Safety Council to target teens' use of cell phones while driving in the communities of Molalla and Canby and surrounding rural areas. That was essentially the Phase 1 work. This educational campaign focused on behavior change to inform and educate folks about the issues caused by doing those activities. Again, just for clarification for the board, Phase 1 was development of the campaign materials for Molalla and the Canby area and the surrounding area. Phase 2 is implementation of that Phase 2 for the Molalla and Canby area. And then Phase 3 is a separate countywide campaign, including youth and adults. So I want to make sure the board was clear about that, the phasing approaches that we're taking.
Any questions on this item? Commissioner Scholl?
Yes, Dan, do you have any metrics on the effectiveness of this program to date? In other words, is this money being spent effectively? Is this program effective?
Well, as a part of our strategic plan in the Department of Transportation and Development, we actually have a Drive to Zero campaign. And that Drive to Zero campaign is a focus on alleviating all deaths within Clackamas County, driver-related fatalities. And a large part of that is actually a discussion around educational opportunities to teens primarily through the use of handheld devices while they are driving. Obviously, we do work regarding some of the marijuana issues that are raised, use of drugs and alcohol, et cetera. Do I have specific metrics in regards to this? No, I do not. But we are tracking what those fatalities are on county roads. It's unfortunate. I mean, we trend flat to up on an annual basis. That deals with, unfortunately, even during this COVID event, we had more fatalities on county roads because more folks were out driving around, mostly high speeds. So we actually look at this as an opportunity to kind of educate folks, educate our citizens, educate our children on the impacts of making those decisions.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or objections? Seeing none, I believe this is a go.
Great, thank you, Dan. One more, and then we're done. The District Attorney's Office, and I think that person is online. Approval to apply to be a sub-recipient, approval to apply for a sub-recipient agreement with Clackamas Women's Services for Victims of Human Trafficking Grant. The $154,994,000 funds requested will fund a .5 full-time employee with funding coming through the Office for Victims of Crime. And I'm not sure who's presenting, so.
Carrie Walker.
Carrie Walker, please go ahead, Carrie.
Hello, thank you, Chair Smith, County Commissioners, and Administrator Schmidt. Yes, I am requesting approval to be a sub-recipient of a grant that is being submitted by Clackamas Women's Services. It's a collaborative grant that would improve the county response to human trafficking on a number of levels. For our office, we would be asking for funds that would pay for a .5 FTE position that's already filled to focus their time on the human trafficking issues as they come through law enforcement and the courts.
I love this idea. Can you tell me, what is the Office for Victims of Crime? Is that a state office, county office?
It's actually one of the federal offices. It was established to provide financial resources and information to agencies that work with victims of crime, and they provide a lot of grant fundings for different programs at the state and local level.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Seeing no objections, that's a go.
This is also a request to add to this Thursday's business meeting, if that's okay, Chair
That's
Smith?
fine.
Great, all right, thank you, Carrie, very much. That is the consent agenda request. Thank you, Chair, for allowing us to do that first. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Now we'll go to the regular list. Start with Dan Johnson from Transportation and Development, Community Advisory Task Force for the Climate Action Plan Project. There was a memo in your packet. Go ahead, please, Dan.
Thank you so much. The Board of County Commissioners has two key goals around the issues of climate action. One is the Clackamas County would be carbon neutral, meaning eliminate our net contribution of greenhouse pollutants by 2050. And the second, the Clackamas County will adopt a climate action plan by 2023 with specific recommendations for how to reach those goals. The Climate Action Plan Project, which is currently being headed by DTD, is designed to lay out a framework on how the county can achieve these climate objectives. At the center of the project is an active and involved community advisory task force, which was a clear desire of the board in scoping the project. Task force members will be asked to help shape the climate action plan by sharing their experiences and expertise, receiving and evaluating input from public stakeholders and experts, and learning from and analyzing data and modeling information from our expert consultants. This task force members will include working with the project team on a community engagement plan, which staff will share with the board for review and feedback once the plan is complete. Staff project team basically had extensive discussions with a number of interested parties, and there were a number of priorities that were established in looking at establishing this committee, one of which was that they represent various geographic areas of the county, including urban and rural. Number two was have the time to commit to the project. We're looking for several hours a month for several months. Next was have a familiarity with or an interest in the issue of climate action. Next was have expertise in different areas and or connected to communities that are particularly impacted by climate change or climate action. And last, are able to work with new information and to offer different and balanced perspectives on this topic. We are very pleased to inform you that we had 67 applicants from a variety of different backgrounds, and included in your materials today are what we as staff are recommending as a 24-member task force, and you can see the members established on this list. Just for the good of the discussion, I want to highlight the fact that there are a number that are still to be determined. You know, for example, we have recommended that an urban and a rural city participate, and Commissioner Savas had the great suggestion that that should probably go through C4 to get vetted, and they submit names to fill those roles. We did have a number of individuals apply, but we felt it better to kind of run through that coordinating committee. We also, transportation tech subject matter expert. This was another recommendation from Commissioner Savas, that we look for somebody who has a better understanding of emerging technology and how it relates to the issue of climate action and carbon. We discussed this list with our BCC liaisons and did updates to a number of the new commissioners. We've included some of those recommendations for additional members on here where they were able to participate. And so basically the ask of the board today, number one, I guess, is the board comfortable approving this task force at this time? Or do you have a desire to have a policy session to have a further discussion on this topic?
Dan, you and I discussed the members on this task force, and I made some recommendations, and it looks like those have been filled. I understand how difficult it is to get volunteers to do that, but I'm pleased with the list so far. Commissioners, it's okay for me to have C4 vet our cities and a transportation subject matter tech expert and a youth person. A youth, does that mean 18 years and younger? Is that what you mean by youth?
Yeah, we've actually been working. We think we found a pretty striking young individual that can be a part of the discussion. But we haven't vetted that and got confirmation of his ability to
Okay, so Gary, can we go ahead and prove this so far?
Yes, you can.
And then we can add there's 4 members to be included at a later date. Is that okay?
Yes.
Can we do that here?
Yes.
Commissioners, do you have any comments on this?
I move for approval.
Okay.
Second?
Commissioner Savas has moved for approval. Commissioner Schrader has seconded that motion. Any other discussion? Christina, could you please call the roll?
Yes, Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl,
Aye.
and Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Dan, for all your good work on this, and please tell the rest of your staff thank you, too.
It is a team effort. We will come back when those names are recommended for further advancement and inform the board about those 4 new members.
Yeah, and if you could have all 4 of those positions be presented at the same time, it would save us time. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Dan. Next topic, also Dan, a request to update your COVID-19 emergency declaration regarding waiver of ZDO for permit implementation deadlines. There was a memo in your packet. Go ahead, please, Dan.
Okay, so attached is an email requesting an extension of the approval period for a conditional use permit for an expansion of a particular industry or business. Basically, the extension is requested or is based on impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on the company's operations. The permit was approved in 2014 with a 5-year time limit for implementation. That's per our ordinances. As allowed by the zoning development ordinance, a 2-year extension was granted in 2019. However, at this point in time, the ZDO does not permit any further extensions, meaning that a new conditional use application would be required. And we are here basically to engage the board to see if the board is interested in granting an extension in this case and others that may arise for similar reasons. You may wish to amend the COVID-19 emergency declarations that provides this authority. So to be clear, we're not asking about this particular use today. We're asking the board if they have interest in modifying the COVID-19 declaration. We've worked with county council and they've given us clear guidance that the current emergency declaration does not afford us this opportunity. But if the board would wish to look to add this to the COVID-19 emergency declaration, and then if they do, we would then come back with this particular request to get it affirmed.
Okay, Dan, this is interesting to me. I read this email from John Logan, CEO of Everfresh Fruit Company, and he certainly lays out what he's trying to do, and I think it's very common above our private sector business people moving forward. I too have experienced delays and delays and delays, and you just can't figure out why. On a multitude of factors that you think would not be delayed, but holy cow, it seems to be we're in this mode, see how slow we can go. I'm not saying it's county staff necessarily, but if you have an existing business like, for instance, these folks do, they want to expand, but they're uncertain about the marketplace. We go from one opening, we go from moderate to high, to extreme, back down to high, so the business owners in our county and statewide do not have certainty. I would certainly want our ZDOs and our staff to operate through a lens of compassion with a lot of these people who have been loyal Clackamas County residents and business owners, to give them an extension. Now, with that said, I will hear from my other county commissioners on this. Mark?
I would support this. Everfresh is a good employer out on Kelso Road, and I think we should do whatever we can to encourage their development and keeping that business and those jobs viable.
And you offer up this email from Everfresh as an example, for instance, of what other people would be doing, and it's well-written. I really, enjoyed that. So what if we approve this today, then you'll come back with more? Yes.
That is correct. We would come back in concert with County Council and propose an amendment, and EOC, and propose an amendment to the COVID-19 emergency declaration. I guess I would look for some clarity from the board right now.
We have commissioners in the queue. We'll answer these questions first. Thank you, Dan. Commissioner Schrader.
Yeah, I'm absolutely in support of this. Food processing is one of our big areas, not just only in Clackamas County, but regionally. We want to make sure that these businesses continue to add the value from our agricultural products.
Sure.
And I'm A-okay with it.
Christina?
I have Commissioner Savas and then Commissioner Fisher in the queue.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I'm ready to speak to this and inclined to support it as well. But I would like to know what clarity Dan is looking for. I think he was about to say something.
Well, he was, but I want to let my commissioners chime in first so we can do this efficiently as possible. Thank you, Paul. Commissioner Fisher?
Sure. So my interest, of course, we need to be flexible during a worldwide pandemic for our businesses and appreciate our staff's effort in bringing this to us. So my only thought, and I'm sure that Stephen and legal counsel will define relating this to the effects of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because we just want to make sure that we have consistency, and I think what Chair Smith says about the uncertainty for business, that's really tough. So the more certainty and clarification we can give in the revision of our emergency ordinance would be appreciated.
Now, Dan, what clarity would you like from us?
Staff's recommendation for consideration by the board, if we were to, I think we need some clarity around, if you extend it, how long is it extended?
Okay.
And so I would recommend that currently our ZDO recommends, it allows a 2-year extension. I would probably recommend that we mirror that if an extension is granted to a maximum of 2 additional years. I'm not sure if County Council has concerns about that, what their thoughts might be, but it seems appropriate to mirror it under the current time extension requirements.
Anything else?
Nope, that's all.
Stephen, you have a problem? 2 years?
No, not offhand. This is strictly attributed to the COVID pandemic is what we're talking about?
I believe so.
And this would be to all outstanding conditional use permits or all permits?
That would be a discussion. I mean, the discussion, I think, is that I would take the type of permit out of the discussion and look at what the expiration date is, and you would just be affording the opportunity for any application that was impacted by COVID-19 issues, an additional 2 years to perform on that project. And I agree, I guess I get a little bit, you will see this, to be frank, you probably won't see it with like subdivisions, partitions, the housing market's booming, you're not gonna see a lot of issues there. Well, you will see issues is probably more around our commercial uses, our industrial uses, those uses that have kind of been in limbo, for lack of a better word, because of the financial impacts of COVID. So I would assume you might see it with conditional uses, you might see it with design review requests, things of that nature that are those permits that entitle those types of projects.
Gary, if we say yes to this, do we bring this back at a policy session for further vetting?
Yes. Policy session or issues, policy session would be better, yes.
Okay, I think maybe that's a route we're going to go, Dan, so we can see exact language in there. You and Stephen can get together. There's a light on, Christina.
Commissioner Savas.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I'm prepared to answer or ask my question. And that is, so I think the how long question, I think we're getting some traction there. My concern, and maybe the work session can address this, is what happens afterwards, after this expires? Will they have a glide path and a clear understanding of what they need to do to adjust and And so that's basically my question. And I'm supportive of this primarily to allow businesses to hire back as many employees as possible. And we're learning that that's an obstacle right now because people are leaving, people that lost their jobs are finding employment in other fields and so forth. So it's really hard right now to get a workforce.
Well, yes, it is.
Yep, back in, and it's important really to have some certainty and consistency. Thank you.
Yes, I would agree at least with a 2-year extension on this. And we're all in agreement, commissioners. We need to do everything we can to support our businesses in the county. So Gary, let's tee this up for a policy session. Dan, is time of the essence on this or what? Is it time sensitive?
I would assume, I don't know I have to read this
Well,
memo.
why don't you figure that out later
We
with
will
Stephen
figure
and
it out,
Gary,
yeah.
and then bring it to the agenda setting meeting, and Gary can report to us later on that. Okay, thank you, Dan. That was very good.
Thank you, yes. Next, advisory boards and commission appointments. Christina, go ahead, please.
Yes, so we have 2 ABCs this week. The first one is for the Development Agency. It's staffed by the Department of Transportation and Development. Currently has 2 openings on their commission due to term expirations. 5 members are allowed with 3-year terms. 1 application was received and 1 recommendation will be to be appointed. That recommendation is Fred Charlton. It would be for his 2nd term. The second ABC is for the Clackamas County Service District Number 5, their Budget Committee. It's under the Department of Transportation and Development also. They currently have 2 openings due to term expirations of 2 members. This will hold a member roster of 10 members with 3-year terms. There were 2 applications and there are 2 recommendations to be appointed. First is Ron Baum. That would be his first appointment or a new appointment. And the second is Brett Emberlin. This would be a reappointment to his 3rd term. And those are your 2 ABCs.
Commissioners, any comments on this?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Savas has moved for approval of these board appointments, and Commissioner Schrader has seconded. Any other comments? Christina, please call the roll.
Okay, Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl,
Aye.
and Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Gary?
Thank you. Next is review of your business meeting agenda for this Thursday, April 22nd, 2021. It's a 10 a.m. morning business meeting. You'll have ice storm updates, COVID-19 updates, a presentation on the Drive to Zero project winners for the Drive to Zero art contest for young people, and then several items on your consent agenda of which you just added to today. That is your agenda. If you do have any questions on any items, if you please let me know prior to Thursday, and staff and I am happy to answer them for you. Next, association dues for the county administrator, that's me. I'm seeking your approval, commissioners, for the county's general fund to pay for my membership in 3 professional associations. They are the International City and County Manager Association, the Oregon City County Manager Association, and the National Association of County Administrators. The total cost for all 3 is $2,100. I don't want to assume that you would approve, so I brought it to your attention, and I'd appreciate either your approval or not for me to spend public dollars on my professional association memberships.
Any questions or comments from commissioners on this item?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Savas has moved for approval for association dues. Commissioner Schrader has seconded that. Any further comments? Hearing none. Christina, please call the poll.
Okay, Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl,
Aye.
and Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you
Gary,
very
what's
much,
up next?
commissioners. May I ask, would you prefer that each year I come to you in public to ask? Do you
Probably.
approve going forward?
Yeah, let's just say that for now until something else comes up that would indicate that we don't need to do that.
Okay. So keep coming before you?
Yes,
Okay.
please keep
Very
coming.
good.
Thank you.
All right, next, Chair Smith is asked to discuss the performance evaluations for the county administrator and county council.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm well aware that this board has 2 employees, and that would be the 2 esteemed members in this room, County Council and our County Administrator. I have been reviewing the hiring processes and what was done in the past couple years from the board. And Stephen, I had that teed up before your wonderful email that was sent out, and I apologize for not getting back to you with that in time. I've looked at the processes, I've looked at our HR department, and commissioners, this is what I propose for us to do in this time around. I would like to hire an outside consulting firm to help us in this. I would like it to see extremely professionalized, and I would like to develop a template for both county council and our county administrator that would stand the test of time, that can be used every single time that these evaluations come up. Because I want it to be factual, I want it to be very clear in what we expect from both of them. I don't want personalities to come into it, I don't want necessarily emotion, although we love you both. That aside, and so I'm asking for the approval on getting an outside contractor on that. Christina, I see a light on.
Commissioner Savas has.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, Chair, I apologize. I'm not really exactly sure what the goal would be. What would be the product?
Well, I just explained what the product would be.
Well, it's not.
Quantify it factually, set standards, set a protocol to be used with minimal updates per year on this, and a process by which we establish how to do this. From reviewing the last couple of sessions, I believe they were very informal. I believe that we need to set goals and expectations within their purview of employment. For instance, Gary Schmidt's goals and duties are quite different than Stephen Madcor's. And I think those need to be established with facts and what they do, what their job is. I mean, Stephen represents, he has certain employees under his purview. He represents the county, he advises the board on lawsuits, he does all those stuff, which is very different than Gary. Gary manages the budget, he's our budget director, he manages his personnel, and so those factors are very different. It's one thing, I was reading through the script, it's one thing for the commissioners to say, yeah, you're doing a great job. That's fine. But I would also like at the end of the day of our processes to be able to give them a written report that they can keep in their personnel files that says, yes, I met these expectations of the board. This is what my job description says, and I met the qualifications. I met what my job description said to do. That's what I'm trying to do with this, Paul.
Okay, if I may, Chair. So I appreciate that. I really do. And you may remember in your first term as a county commissioner that each and every year doing the evaluations, I was looking for more definition. So I just want to make it perfectly clear. I support greater definition in the evaluation process. And we did hire actually someone to do that. And our staff, before and after that hire, we're always trying to assist. And it seems to be that the obstacle really wasn't the advice that was given or the consultant's work that was provided. It really was our discipline to actually, enact, follow through, and provide the guidance. And we seem to struggle with that every time. So I'm reluctant to spend more public dollars if really the handicap or maybe a review of what we've done in the past with our staff first is probably more in order, because again, I just don't want to see our dollars wasted. It was actually a very painful process the last time we hired someone to help us, and we didn't follow their advice.
Well, and that's going to be the issue. I read that, I understood that. I think maybe a different approach with a different contractor is in order. I also will say, if we use our HR staff, our human resources staff, I believe it puts them in a very awkward position of having to evaluate their boss. Just remember that. Now, one thing that I have strived for since I've taken the chair responsibilities is that discipline from this board. And I think we've accomplished that a lot. At times it has been painful. And if discipline has not been followed, then that's a personal responsibility upon each of our elected people. And I think that that's one reason why I want to hire somebody we can set a price. I don't know exactly, I have an idea in my mind to go forward on this, but I think a different approach and a different type of contractor is in order. There are professional services out there that can aid in executive management review. They're out there, and I just want to raise this, I want to raise the level of professionalism on this. So what I'm asking for today from the board is to go ahead and seek out some contractors. Will come back with a dollar amount, Gary. And who's the proper one to handle this, you?
We'll do it through county administration, yeah.
County administration, okay, thank you. And to do this, and they'll bring back and see how much it's going to cost. And I'm very serious about moving forward this, because Paul, as you remember, when I was a previous commissioner, we had an administrator issue. And we hired a new administrator. And that whole process was not fun for me. I was a very new commissioner at that time. It was very different than my legislative experience. And so I just want to make sure moving forward that we're within law. I think that's important. We observe law. We all think we know what the law is, but maybe we don't. And that's what I seek to do. Christina?
I have Commissioner Fisher, then Commissioner Savas.
Commissioner Fisher, comment.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Smith. So I've been involved with, has it been 4 evaluations as a county commissioner? And my thought is, it is the direction of this board to lay out the process that we want to follow, which we have been able to do. Human Resources does not evaluate Stephen or our county council or our county administrator. The county commission does, but they are able, and they have been effective in the past in giving us what we've requested. And they have come before us, they've laid out the process, we've decided at the time, do we want to go through with what is called the 360 evaluation, which takes in a whole view of the employee, or do we want to use a different method? I think our human resources staff does a really good job in giving this board what it requests. And I do have to agree with Commissioner Savas that, I mean, I'm very reluctant to expend any other taxpayer dollars on this. Right now, I would suggest that we have this board go through an evaluation process utilizing the resources that we have in-house and go through that process. And it's time. I was just thinking about that. This is time. It's Stephen Madcor's up and Gary's going to be up here shortly, and we go through the evaluation process and really evaluate it and say what worked, what didn't work. I was very impressed when we hired Gary Schmidt, and we did use an outside consultant, and they went through and talked to people to come up with the criteria for the position, and there was a whole list of things that we were looking for. We have within our process the foundation of providing an excellent evaluation. We've done that work. And so that would be my suggestion at this point. If we don't like what we have, then we could seek outside help. But I think we have the resources.
Well, so the reason is for assured record keeping. I'm trying still to find documents in the Human Resources Department. We do have a new person that has come on. Yes, this is why I have brought this to the commission. And I'm trying to be tactful in my request. Right now, the process is led internally by county administration, and that is extremely awkward. That puts Gary in the position of evaluating himself. So what I'm trying to establish with this is a record-keeping process that can be accessed by who? Who accesses those records? Every county commissioner that comes along? I'm not sure what the protocol for that is. I'm not sure if that's proper to have access to somebody's personnel records unless it's our charge. So there's a lot of questions that I think that need to be legally answered as we proceed with this. On this, Commissioner Savas, go ahead.
Well, Chair, I'm going to go back to what I said. The problem has been our discipline, frankly, and I've got a lot of experience in this. I've done a lot of evaluations. I've done it in many different ways. The problem here is that for 10 years as a county commissioner, I have I have urged my colleagues to set specific goals for each of the two people we're talking about, the county administrator and the county council. And until we are able to set goals for them, I think it's foolish, frankly, to some degree, to bring in people to somewhat bolster the process when we can't even get out of the gate. And I'm sorry if that's a criticism, but you know, in the absence of discipline, if we can't even amongst ourselves set those goals for each of those two people, that's our problem. That's not Gary's problem. That's not the administrator or legal counsel's problem. It's not our staff's problem in HR. HR's done a great job. But I would suggest, if nothing else, Chair, that we have a work session, review the work that we've done before, go back and talk through what our shortcomings have been. I just don't want to see those dollars wasted, because they give us great advice. But our problem is not that advice. Our problem is our follow-through.
You know, I'll take exception with you say when dollars are wasted when we're reviewing our top 2 county employees, whom we rely on immensely for legal advice, one of the top attorneys probably in the state of Oregon, who we rely on legal advice for, a top county administrator, financial information, personnel information, policy information. I take great exception to saying that this is a waste of money. It's probably going to be the best money we have ever spent. Commissioner Scholl.
Yes. As we look at this issue, is it possible that the counties who are members to the AOC, that some of those counties might have some exceptionally good examples of performance standards for their county administrator and county attorney that we might look at and consider? That might save us a lot of time. There might be an example out there that's in one of those counties that's very good.
But we still need, even with that in mind, we still need a body to perform and conduct the meeting. It's not going to be the chair, it's not going to be the vice chair that leads this. We can certainly vote yea or nay on any item that comes forward. Martha.
You know, I've been on the fence with this, but having evaluated folks for such a long time in this county, it has come a long way. It was very loosey-goosey when I was first a 2003 commissioner, I have to tell you. And it got tightened up through the years. And I wouldn't be adverse to having us as a commission really do what the chair wants to do, because I think that it's iterative of how we manage this. It's a new commission. I understand the template. We really had never had much of a template, as I said, when we first started. And it always made me very uncomfortable. My concern is I don't want our staff to think it's a lack of trust in their ability to run the process. I will agree with Commissioner Savas that we can do this, but oftentimes it is our own lack of self-discipline that has been the problem. But I don't see any issue in terms of looking at it if we can do it quickly with a minimal expense, and actually set those standards and explore what you want to see happen with this. I'm okay with it after hearing this discussion.
And exploring AOC can be one of the areas to do, but the more exploration that we take on this topic, the longer it will take. Stephen's review was due in March. Things happened at the county that didn't happen. I don't want it to think that we don't care about you, Stephen.
No biggie.
Yes, right. So Gary, you're in the catbird seat of deciding how we want to evaluate you.
So I will schedule a policy session and prepare a bid process for you and get some cost estimates and bring all that before you to finalize this decision and have you move forward.
Probably one of those professional organizations you belong to can help you with that.
Yes.
We can probably reach out to AOC on that as well.
I'll do AOC and League of Cities, see if they have any evaluations for administrators and/or councils.
Great, thank you very much. Christina?
Commissioner Savas.
Savas, you're up.
Yeah, I just want to ask maybe Gary a question, just to make my point. Gary, do you feel that the Board of County Commissioners have given you unique goals to accomplish in the previous 12 months?
I do. I provided you goals a year ago, which you amended and approved. So I am working under goals you helped me set 1 year ago. Granted, they were approved 1 week before COVID started. So I'll admit I've not achieved all the goals you set for me because COVID was the priority. But yes, we'd worked together on my goals, which the prior board was a part of that conversation. So I do feel that's the case, Commissioner, yes.
But why should an employee provide their own goals? That's my objection. That's
That's my point.
why should any employee provide their own metrics? I don't feel that's a professional way to go about evaluating somebody's performance or even defining their role or their job description. Martha?
Yeah, I think we're talking about two different things. I think what you're talking about is a template that will be consistent
Yes.
throughout.
Yes.
And we do a good job internally. We've done great evaluations. We've managed it. But through the years, it's like changed. I mean, do you see what I mean? I think what you're talking about is just more of a structure where there's going to be checkpoints specifically that every single time through the years that there's a protocol for us and for future commissions. I think that's what I'm hearing.
Yes, it's exactly what.
It's not really trying to, I mean, internally, with our staff, and as commissions change, how we do things changes, but maybe it would be good to have that level of just a template consistency. Again, I don't particularly want to spend a lot of money. Maybe we can do this, and I think a policy session is a good way to go, just to continue the conversation.
Okay, we'll bring back a policy session, Gary, when we have identified costs and possibilities for us to move forward on this. So, Commissioners, in absence of somebody coming through, somebody's going to, in absence of a professional entity coming on board and leading us through, somebody's going to have to lead the session, and that responsibility falls on the chair. I'm not sure if that's a proper role of the chair right now. I'll think about it. I'll evaluate it as we go through. So Gary, can you set up that policy?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Savas?
It's actually Commissioner Fisher.
Fisher?
Yeah. So, Gary, as part of the policy session, I think it would be helpful for the board to know what support and resources are. Human Resources has provided in the past and what they can perform, which has already been budgeted for.
Right.
Including the different methodologies, the 360 evaluation. And I don't know if this board knows, but there is a constant feedback that's offered to people through a survey that is information that is collected for our staff.
And I like
is
the
great.
I like the 360 evaluation. I'm not saying we're going to do away with that at all.
Yep.
But I'm thinking that we can up our game a little bit.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Gary. Okay, what's up next?
Finally is Commissioner Communications.
Commissioner Communications. Who wants to go first? Do I see a raise of hands?
So I'll go first.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher.
I guess I have a question instead of a report. I was curious what this board would like to do when it comes to looking at advice for, I think it would be for Commissioner Savas, Commissioner Schrader, and myself, when it comes up for a vote, for AOC for the new dues structure. It's somewhat complicated of a process, I could tell you. My best ability to explain it right now, and then you could say, oh, that looks good, go ahead and support it, or we need to have more discussion on it. Commissioner Schrader, can you remind me when that vote is coming up? It's coming up pretty quick with AOC, isn't it, the next meeting?
It is coming up pretty quickly, but I'll be honest with you, I'll have to ask Tracy when that's coming up, because
it
she
might be
basically
May.
manages where I'm supposed to be. I will say they need a new dues structure. Part of the problem we had with the potential for the bankruptcy the last time was largely because they were budgeting by bucket and transferring funds from one fund to another and not repaying back the transportation funds that they were transferring in. That was the dilemma. So we found ourselves in significant arrears. You were there, Commissioner. We had the whole AOC voted to pay back those funds and then get us back on financial footing with a single payment. And now the organization is solvent and on a good path. The biggest issue we've always dealt with in the organization is the reluctance to raise dues. However, you cannot continually have folks asking staff to do what we have been asking them to do without, having the ability to pay for those functions. And I do think it's about time for a dues raise.
Do
And
we know how much that is yet?
Yeah,
even
so
have
let me just give just a little bit more information, and we don't have to go through all of it today, but I just want to know what the will of the board is. There was a member town hall last night. There is a somewhat easy, but I have to be honest, it's complicated. I spent time studying it to try to figure it out, and it wasn't until I looked at some of the examples that I really figured it out. But how it goes is AOC figures out how much money it needs. It figures out a base rate for every county. It then looks at some individualized factors. Assessed value is one factor, and population is the other. And so they take that amount that's needed, divide it all up, take part of it for the assessed value, part of it for population, and then come up with an amount. And the AOC has the discretion to increase that up to 3% a year automatically, but they still have to budget and go through all of that.
That would be a board decision.
Generally the simple way of how they're going to be looking at the dues. And if we want a further study of it, then we probably need to reserve some time before we have to, Commissioner Schrader, Paul Savas, and I will be voting on that at the next AOC board meeting.
And to let you know, the dues structure was largely pulled together by George Murdoch, Alex at the time, Tardif of the Finance Committee. George Murdoch is going to be the one of the incoming presidents after Melissa Cribbins. He is very diligent in how he looks at the dues structure. He is a retired superintendent of schools, so he's pretty knowledgeable when it comes to this. So I think that you all need to have a look at it, so you can give us some direction. But I feel very confident in their work at this point. But
I see a lot.
Attended the membership.
Okay, thank you. Is that Commissioner Savas? It is. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, George does do a great job, and I just want to ask the question because of my schedule and meeting conflicts, I've not been able to attend as many AOC events as I would like. So my question is any part of this due to the desire to acquire a new building?
No. It's really just to keep the organization functionally solvent. They would actually sell the current building they're in before they purchased a new building. Because I know they're looking at the building across the way. But no, the dues increase is not directly related to buying a new building.
That's a good question.
But we can find out if you
Would
get more
we be
information.
asked at a later date to help finance a new building? Is that an additional cost?
I can't answer that right now, but I think we better get a hold of Gina Nickel and
Okay.
we'll find out. But my initial response would be highly unlikely.
Okay,
They wouldn't
good.
do it unless they could manage it. And I did have a tour, I don't know if Sonia and Paul did, of the new building. And maybe we can arrange something for you, commissioners, to take a look
If
at
they
it.
want to, that's fine. So Gary, what's the next steps on this? Do we wait?
I'm just curious what folks want. If they want just to delegate it to Commissioner Schrader and myself and Paul to use our best judgment, or if we want to bring it before the group when we have a little bit more time just to go through the slide deck and explain what is going on, then we need to schedule
Well,
that.
is AOC
before
ready?
May.
Is AOC ready to tee this up, Commissioner Fisher?
They're teeing it up.
They're gonna
They
tee
had
it
their
up.
member town hall
So
yesterday.
we're going to be asked for a dues increase, correct?
I don't know what our last dues was. Do you know, Gary?
Approximately $75,000. That's
Right.
what we pay each year.
And we might want to see if we can get Gina Nickel up here and some of their finance people, if that might work.
Yeah,
for us.
yeah. It's a quick decision, and I just don't know what process we want. So Chair, I really defer to you to
Well-
decide what you want to put on the agenda, what you don't, competing with all of the rest of the
This will
priorities.
be a more serious look-see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we're being asked to have a huge dues increase, I want to know what the heck we're buying. Right, Gary? So, Gary, why don't you communicate with Gina Nickel, see if,
And I bet George would attend too. if
and
you
George,
needed him to.
whomever needs to make their case, to this board. I want to know what the increase is. Heck, if it's $5,000 increase, that's probably palatable. However, it sounds to me like it's going to be a lot more for whatever reason. My spidey senses are all over this one.
But let me remind you, though, Chair, it's because they have been so reluctant to raise dues over the years that that's the issue. If we want them to lobby for us and with their team and who's been doing the work down there, it's a new, young, dynamic team. A lot of the older individuals who we've known for years are gone. They're dynamic, they're smart, they're on top of things. They work very well with Chris Lyons and PGA, so I think, but I do agree with you, let's see what it costs, because oftentimes the counties in this neck of the woods pay.
Yeah, well, I think the tri-counties pay the lion's share of
they do.
AOC.
Yeah.
And so we're always asked to pony up more because they think we're richer than the rest of them. Little do they know.
Yeah. So I pulled up how they would look at it for all the counties, and they have a $1.3 basically million budget for the organization. In Clackamas County, the base county fee is $35,000. Like in comparison, like Multnomah County's is $40,000. Ours would be $35,000. Our assessed value is $53 million, so that's 12% of the state's assessed value. So our assessed fee with that 12% is $36,000 roughly. And then our population at 426,000, the percent of population for the state is almost 10%. So that's $30,000 of a fee, adding up to $102,000.
Right.
Is how that would look for Clackamas County.
Right. So,
And in comparison, Multnomah County is 158, and Washington County is 131,000.
thank you. You say our base fee is $35,000, but we have some add-ons.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to get rid of all the add-ons. Like the Veterans Committee or all of that it's a full meal menu.
Okay.
Every county gets all of the services of AOC under
Right.
this.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think, let's just bring that up at a policy session, and we can fully vet everything you've been saying today.
Sounds good.
And I do want to add, if we're going to stay active in the national associations of counties, it's normally the association that recommends people for NACO. All of those kinds of designations, the things for chair, vice chairs, whatever, go through their NACO's processes. It's all being the membership in a county umbrella that gets you these kinds of appointments. So,
Great.
just to let you know.
Yep. Any other commissioners with comments today before we adjourn at 11:30?
Well,
Martha is in the queue. Go ahead.
Paul, did I interrupt you? You okay?
No, go ahead, Martha.
All right,
Go
okay.
ahead.
I just wanted to make sure, folks, that you saw the letter from Regional Solutions. I've been trying to update you on this. I did a little ripple in the force the other day because I asked them to change the letter a little bit to please recognize other counties and rural areas. Essentially, if you take a look at it, the assertion is that the metro region comprises 44% of state's total population, 51%, so on and so forth. They are trying to make the case that our region really, because we're the economic engine of the state, that's one of the assertions, which I'm not going to say isn't so. I think that it is in many ways. But basically, they're saying that economic indicators released in March 2021 by the Oregon Employment Department, Oregon lost 154,000, close to 155,000 jobs, and it really, and that our region represents 63% of Oregon's jobs lost. So they are writing a letter asking the governor to take that into consideration. I did make an issue in that if they're using these metrics, we have no control over what the governor does, but if they're using these metrics for our region, they ought to be doing it for the rest of the regions in the state. And for me, it's an equity issue, and that was maybe because I haven't had my AOC, which really I was at the regional piece. I don't take issue with their economic analysis, but I was very worried that statewide, our urban neighbors really don't seem to have a grasp of the size and scope of our rural counties and their contribution to the economy. Most of our major exports are agricultural products, as well as most of our products that are sent throughout the United
I would agree with that
States.
sentiment.
In fact, I would say 80% of Oregon ag leaves the state, 40% leaves the country. We are kind of we exported 2.6 billion raw agricultural products internationally. That was 2013. It's probably increased significantly. So I did pull together some data for you folks to take a look at, just to have it on your back burner, because even though we're part of a metro region, we also are part of the larger rural community. And I would like to remind our folks in our region that they may say they're the economic engine in multiple ways. I agree with that. But also, they have to recognize there's a huge agricultural economic engine in this state as well. The other thing is, that I have the Clackamas County profile. The letter does say that, our BIPOC communities here in the region need to be addressed. I understand that too. But I will tell you, looking at the 2017 Census for Agriculture in our profile, looking at farms, we have American Indian and Alaska Native, 50, Asian, 91, Black or African American, 5, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander, 29, white is $7,000, and more than one race is 81. And it's Hispanic, Latino, and Spanish in origin, with military service and new and beginning farmers. So these are data points to also remind people that BIPOC communities are in our county, and they're also statewide. So even though I think that you can make an assertion that there's a concentration in our urban areas, I did remind folks that, remember, this is statewide. So read the letter. I've been asked to approve it. I'm willing to go there with the changes that were made.
Martha, do you have recommended changes?
They did the recommended changes I made.
Okay,
That's
so we
the
need to read the letter.
Yes.
Okay, let's do that, Board.
Okay.
And let's get back to Martha on
And
that.
I do need to know pretty quickly.
Okay.
Again, I just want to make sure that we have a broader view of what runs the economy in this state when we look at these dollars, so.
So where do Gary handed me this letter, because I said, what letter are we talking about? Is there other, was there an
No,
email that I missed?
this is from the Regional Solutions conversation we had the other day.
Okay.
And I know you were on it too, and there's
Briefly.
been a little bit of a rub with vaccine distribution, which I won't get into, but that's a whole nother thing. And the other thing I want to make you aware of, colleagues, I'm sorry, I'm taking a while, is that we do have some of our folks here in the county that have requested dollars from the American Recovery Act to Regional
Individuals and
Solutions.
businesses?
Pardon me?
Individuals and businesses?
No, this is our Equity and Inclusion Office, Clackamas County Business and Community Services, Clackamas Workforce Partnership, one of our nonprofits, and two of those. So I want to
Martha,
make sure.
don't we have a committee set up for that is, Gary, that's going through all these requests?
Yes.
I suggest we run it through that. I understand everybody is trying to get in the queue for the money that's coming.
Yeah, I agree. I saw this list, and I think we need to get some more information on
Well, we
this.
don't have the information yet, do we? Gary?
So for how you're going to spend the county's $81 million, no. A staff committee is working on suggestions based on your prior feedback, and we'll bring that back to you. Commissioner Schrader is talking about the governor's spending of the state's
okay,
share of these funds.
Yes.
Okay, you didn't say that, the governors.
I'm sorry, I should have been clearer. Yeah, this
Okay.
is the state allocation of the ARPA, not
Okay.
just our allocation. So essentially, though, I want to let you know that we are in the queue regionally with
Good.
some of our folks. So
Will that
this-
decision be made by the Oregon legislature?
I believe so. I think that's why we're lobbying for dollars. I mean, I
Okay,
think
and so
that's
are we
what we're doing.
lobbying our legislative membership in Clackamas County for certain, Gary, for certain program development or whatever it is that we're doing?
Yes, that's what Commissioner Schrader's referring
And
to.
have those priorities been set, or do we take a look at this list?
I think you should take a look at this list.
Is it in my
I think-
inbox?
I don't think so. I think I just received it.
Oh, okay.
I think we need to get it. I'm trying to do what Commissioner Fisher did. I just want to make sure everybody's in the know with
Got
this.
it.
I want you to see what we've done so far in order to, that regional, again, this is the Regional Tri-County Solutions Group, and I have been appointed by the governor to sit on that group. So that's why
Excellent.
Well, that's why I've been doing it a while, like everything else around here. I mean, don't get me going. But it's very important that you guys stay in the loop, because this is something where they want us to really send a letter with Washington and Multnomah County.
Okay, on the regional solutions.
Yes.
Okay.
And my concern is that, we have the same indicators, economic indicators, so we just want to make sure we get our fair share for
Got
our
it.
county.
Got it. Christina, there's a light on?
That's me.
Commi-
So quickly, the letter Commissioner Schrader is referring to is in all of your email boxes. Tracy Moreland sent it yesterday at 4:20 PM. So this letter you have electronically. The issue of the state's share of the $780 million that Oregon is getting from the Federal American Rescue Plan. There was a deadline of last Friday where counties had the opportunity to send feedback. Our staff committee, who's working on our portion, sent that feedback. The breakdown was we did not check with you first because there wasn't time. So I apologize. We should have done that. We simply didn't have time. It was not purposeful to exclude you. We give some suggestions for the state's share. So I'll make sure staff comes back to you to tell you what they did. It is in your email as well, your legislative update that Chris Lyons sent last Friday that has a list of what the proposals, and Commissioner Schrader has sharing that with you today. So there's a small breakdown, not done on purpose. We'll loop back to you, Commissioners.
Well,
on
this is how I look at that, Gary. If the state is willing to fund X, Y, Z, and then we don't have to do that through our 81 million, we can go fund ABC, correct?
correct.
So I'm not going to lose any sleep over what the staff decided, because I assume they've been listening to this board for a while and kind of know where our priorities are. So I'm not going to lose any sleep over that one. Okay, any other commissioner comments? Christina, there's a light on.
Yes, Commissioner Savas has his hand up.
Savas, you're up.
Yeah, this is a great segue. Seems to be it's the year of recovery, and we know our businesses have been suffering, and some of them are very, very vulnerable. Just want to remind everyone that we have an opportunity tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. It's all on your calendars for the Park Avenue discussion. It's primarily designed for the businesses, property owners that are affected in that area to speak to you. They want to speak to you, my colleagues. Martha and I attended the first one, and so there was great interest in this stuff. So you can hear firsthand from them, their concerns about the impacts, about their viability in the future going forward, and some ideas they have to contribute to ideas regarding the Park Avenue proposal that could potentially be moving to the Planning Commission in the near future. So they have, there was a great first meeting. I think the input would be good. And it's also the tail end of that meeting is public comment from from other viewpoints, from other perspectives, from the local neighborhood. But this borders on the edge, I would say, with their concern about their livelihoods and their property rights, or what they can do with their property if there's a zone change that adversely affects them. So this would be a great opportunity to learn firsthand and to meet some of these individuals. And the reason it's so important, it's not just about them, it's about other areas in the county that might be subject to the very same zoning changes. So this is not just a localized issue so much as it could potentially be a larger issue. And right now, getting our employees back to work and businesses back up is a huge issue. So the chamber, as I understand it, has got some interest in this as well. So it'd be a great session. Just want to remind you it's on your calendars, and hope to see you tomorrow at 5.
Thank you for that reminder, Commissioner Savas. Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, real quickly, on the $81 million coming into the county, there's a great interest amongst the people in the county on how that's going to be spent. And my comment is that we need to be thinking about what is the perception of the people of Clackamas County on the ways we spend the $81 million, because it's going to be very important to them. Thank you.
Yep, thank you for that. Seeing no more comments, we'll recess until 1:30. Is that right, Gary?
We start at 1 o'clock today.
1 o'clock,
so
that's
1
right.
o'clock.
Okay.
1 o'clock. Okay, we're back early, commissioners.
All right.
for a full